computer. Okay. So tell me who you are and about yourself and anyone from your family you'd like to share about.
Well, my birth name is Peggy Joyce Duke, but a few years after I joined the UU, I didn't feel like a Peggy anymore. And a friend of mine knew that and started calling me Pegatha. And I said, that's it. I feel like a Pegatha more than Peggy. So that's the name I've been going by ever since, although it's not legal. But I feel comfortable with that. Um, I grew up in East Nashville. That's where all my friends were. But I heard about Fogg having, if I went there, I would get 4 hours of studying art every day. So I took the bus and went there every day till I graduated. And after I graduated, I went to an art school in Nashville called the Harris School of Art.
Uh-huh.
And went there for 2 years. And then all of my friends there were going to Chicago to art school. So I went with them and went a year to art school in Chicago.
To the Art
And
Institute or somewhere else?
pardon?
To the Art Institute or somewhere
No,
else?
no, it was American Academy of Commercial Art because I knew I wanted to do more commercial art. I became a fashion illustrator for department stores to advertise in newspapers, which of course is obsolete now. Um, my first job was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and that city was so nice, but it was seemed just like another place like Nashville, and I had always wanted to travel, so I got a job in San Francisco
Wow.
working in a department store, and that's where I met my future husband in San Francisco. And after we got married, we kept moving south of San Francisco down into the Bay Area, and that's where I had 3 children. My oldest daughter is named Holiday, and she and her husband live in northern Minnesota, and they have spent their time together adopting mostly special needs children and raising probably at least 90% of all their food.
Wow.
Um, my second daughter lives in Tampa, Florida, and is a fifth grade school teacher. And my youngest is a son who lives in North Carolina. He works for the Army at Fort Bragg and is an air traffic controller. And one of the nice things for a parent is all of my children dearly love their jobs. So that's a special gift. And I have one sibling, a brother, um, who was an architect. And coincidentally, his first job after graduating was with Bruce Draper, who was the architect for the first UU church,
Oh.
which was totally coincidental because neither of us had ever heard of a UU church before. And he now lives on a boat between Florida and Georgia. So
Wow.
that's my family.
That's fantastic. And I want to know, so you did the illustrations for fashion design for
Yes.
newspapers. And then did you end up working in art again? You've certainly created vast amounts of art. Was that for your personal use?
Well, some of it was my personal use. I love portrait painting That was probably my favorite, but I soon realized that I would see individuals differently than they would see themselves. And I couldn't, I thought this is too stressful because it's lying if I change it to suit them because that's not what I'm feeling. So I kind of gave that up, and then I went to design school and did interior design for a number of years, and then I started painting on silk, and I probably made more money at that than anything I've done. But all of these things have had to do with art, and I've loved every second of it.
I've been lucky enough to be in your home and to get to see some of your art, and it is amazing. So I'll be glad when we're all back together again and you can do another exhibit at church so folks will have a chance to see it. What a
Well, I'd be,
fascinating history, Pegatha. And I'm so glad to hear because our youngest daughter was saying, why is your email Peggy Duke, but her name's Pegatha? So I'm so glad to know the history of that. I love that. And you are well suited to be a Pegatha. So
hey,
that's exactly right.
yeah, it can be confusing to some people. My older friends still call me Peggy, but everybody I meet in the last 20, 30 years, I've been Pegatha.
It's how you can know what part of your life people are
Yes,
from, right? Yeah.
yes.
How did you discover GNUUC?
Well, this is a very interesting background. I had been in a very conservative religion for a number of years. And one morning, just out of the blue, I was attending a service, and all of a sudden I realized I was allowing myself to be manipulated by guilt. And at that moment, I stood up and walked out in the middle of the class and never went back. And after that, I heard about the Unity Church. And the more I learned about it, the freer it seemed, and it was so nice. And I found a congregation in San Jose where I was living at the time, or where we were living. And it was like a breath of fresh air, their beliefs and their teachings. But I think partly because there was a live tree growing up through the roof out of the center of
In the
their
sanctuary?
yes. So that was a good experience too. But then I got a divorce a few years after that, and I moved back to Nashville. So obviously I was looking for another Unity, and there was one at that time on Woodmont Boulevard, in the old YMCA. So I attended that church, and I had not done a lot of evolving with the women's issues because I was busy with my family, and I started reaching out and started learning. And all of a sudden, in the Unity Church, and I don't know that they do this now, but when I was there, all of the pronouns were male. And
Oh,
I asked the minister one day, could sometime there be a neutral pronoun or a feminine pronoun? And she said, Peggy, I don't think you belong here. I think you belong in the first UU church down the street. And of course, I'd never heard of a UU church. So it wasn't long after that that I started attending, and I realized it was exactly, it went right along with what I was learning and feeling at the time. So I've been part of that ever since.
gotcha. And then was it when you made the move out to Bellevue that you found GNUUC?
Well, I knew about GNUUC, but all of my friends were at First UU. But as I was aging, it was getting more uncomfortable to drive. So I thought, well, and for a long time, I just forgot about
Yeah.
GNUUC. And all of a sudden, I seemed to get these revelations in a twinkling of an eye. And I thought, here, this church is out here 5 minutes from my door. This is the obvious place for me to be coming. So I've been out here 5 or 6 years. I've lost count, and I am so grateful for this because I have made such dear friends since I've been here. Although I still talk and visit with some of my old friends from First UU.
That's perfect. That's the
Yes,
perfect combo.
yes.
Are there any unexpected insights about you? Although one of the things I love about you is every time I talk to you, I find out something new and fascinating about you. So I don't know that you're going to be able to pick one, but is there any unexpected insight that you'd like to share?
Well, I've been thinking about this and who am I really? And I thought, I guess the major thing, which is no surprise, is that I've been creative most of my life, and that has just been something I didn't have a choice with. And also, I learned very young because I spent a lot of time by myself developing curiosity, and I thought that was a drawback. The when I thought about that as an adult, and in some ways it was because that's such a good time for learning. Um, but what I learned was curiosity because there was nothing else going on. So that has benefited me through my whole life, and especially now since
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
isolating so much and away from people. And I'm also in school, I never studied about history in a way that was interesting to me. But later, when I went to interior design school, I learned about it from the standpoint of architecture and art. So I love that topic, and I love the study about nature. And also, um, before my divorce, I realized I had to understand more about myself, so, and hopefully not need to get a divorce. And of course, in California, there's a place to help you with that on every corner. So since then, I've had a huge interest in psychology and understanding the mind, especially my mind.
You inspire me so much. That's wonderful. What would you say is the most amazing place you've visited?
Well, this might not be a surprise either. Um, the summer I graduated from O'Moore Interior Design School in Franklin. Um, Parsons School of Design offered a summer program in Paris.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I joined that, and we had 2 classes a day. The morning, we had a guided tour of Paris, and of course, the teacher knew all about everything. And the afternoon, we had classes at the Louvre. And so we got to see things that the public do not get to see. And the last week of that session was in the Loire Valley, and we stayed at a small chateau, but every day lunches were packed for us. by the American School of Cooking, and they also served all of our meals when we were at the chateau. And when we were out visiting, we toured all of the major historical chateaus in the area and learned about the history and the rulers. And so that's really what turned me on to the history of art, and I mean a history of people and architecture and the rulers and so forth.
Wow. That would have shaped and changed your whole perspective of the world.
Yes, it did. It did.
Oh, that's amazing. Um, well, obviously I could talk to you for hours and hours because there's a story behind every single story. So I know there's so much more there, but I will just ask you the one last question. What is something interesting or joyful that you have learned during our time here with 2020 and the pandemic?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind was missing all of you at GNUUC. Seeing you, all the noise outside, they are mowing our lawns.
It's okay.
So
It
I
sounds
hope that
fine.
doesn't hurt
Yeah.
the sound.
Nope, it's
But
good.
getting to see each of you in person and getting to see your smiles and giving and getting hugs is the thing I think I have missed the most. And one thing that's been good since I've been isolating so much is going through all of my stuff and trying to get rid of the things I know I'll never use again. And that is very difficult because I realized how attached I am to many things that I don't have any use for now, but it's hard to get rid of them, but I need to pass them on.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I have more time to read, and one of my favorite topics is historical fiction, but right now I'm reading a book by Eckhart Tolle.
Hmm.
It's called The Power of Now, and I could not be reading a better book because it's helping me stay in the moment without thinking about the future and the past, and helping me let go of things in the past I no longer have any control of, but I find myself falling into those spaces sometime
Sure.
out of just regret. I wished I could have known as much then as I know now, but I didn't. So, and now, and not paying too much attention to the future because I don't know what lies in front of me. And so, trying to stay in the moment and really appreciating all of my wonderful things I have in my life right now.
Boy, that book showed up at the right time.
Yes, yes, it really is.
Do you know, I think you are the last person that I hugged at church.
Oh, really?
On that very last Sunday we were together, I sat down next to you and I said, "We're not really supposed to hug anymore." And you said, "I don't care. I want to hug."
Well, I'm looking forward to another one of those hugs.
Amen. Me too. Thank you for making time for this, Pegatha.
Oh, thank you. I've enjoyed sharing a lot of my life with you and anyone else that happens to watch this.
Yeah.